Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward.
Chapter 1. Late at night, mini-stop convenience store. I'm not going to eat natto after all. Natsuki Subaru thought for a moment, put the natto ramen back on the shelf, picked up a tonkatsu stew-flavored cup noodle, and then grabbed a bag of corn chowder-flavored potato chips. Proceed to the cashier to pay. That'll be 363 yen in total. The cashier entered the items and gestured for Natsuki Subaru to pay. 363 yen? That seems a bit much for a late-night snack. Natsuki Subaru took out his wallet and pulled out a few yen coins. Ah, an early Showa-era 10-yen coin. Subaru noticed that one of the coins was quite rare and decided to keep it. But, click. Advertisement. With a crisp crack, the 10-yen coin was crushed in Subaru's hand. Damn it! Subaru rubbed his forehead with a pained expression. A whole day had passed since he awakened his Witrum bloodline, but he still couldn't fully control his power. That's right, Witrum bloodline. In fact, Subaru Natsuki's father, Kenichi Natsuki, was a warrior sent to Earth from planet Witrum. In an accident, Kenichi Natsuki used his own strength to save a woman named Naoko. They met, fell in love, started a family, and had a child. The child's hair color is similar to that of his father, Kenichi Natsuki, while his facial features are delicate, inherited from his mother, Naoko Natsuki. They also inherited many of their parents' virtues in terms of personality, kindness, resilience, courage. However, he did not inherit his father Kenichi Natsuki's superpowers. From as far back as Natsuki Subaru could remember, he knew that his father was a great hero. Flying through the air and disappearing into the earth, saving others, they are virtually omnipotent. The citizens who loved their father called Kenichi Natsuki all-round hero. Subaru also hopes to be as strong as his father, and to be able to save others like his father. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. Natsuki Subaru did not inherit his father's Witrum bloodline, even though he always hoped that he would awaken it one day. 5 years old, 7 years old, 12 years old, 14 years old. Natsuki Subaru spent his youth in a cycle of anticipation and disappointment. Until he was 17 years old. Subaru had already given up hope of awakening his superpowers and becoming a superhero like his father. One evening, when he went out to take out the trash, he simply flung the heavy trash bag to the height of a dozen or so stories with just a little effort. At that moment, Subaru Natsuki realized his superhero life had begun. Welcome back again. Subaru left the convenience store amidst the cashier's farewells. Gazing at the clear night sky, Subaru couldn't help but feel a surge of emotion. Great! Now I'll just fly straight home. Although I'm still not very stable at flying. But then he thought about how his plane had crashed yesterday, smashing through his neighbor's roof and forcing his parents to go with him to apologize. Subaru's mood plummeted again. Forget it, I'll just walk back obediently. Subaru sighed. He'd wait until his father taught him how to fly before learning anything else. His father had said he'd start training him tomorrow morning anyway. I can't wait for tomorrow's training. Subaru straightened his back and stretched. It's finally begun. My Witrum life, starting from scratch. Wait, what? When Subaru opened his eyes again, everything around him had changed. A medieval square, pedestrians with brightly colored hair, demi-humans, orcs, and lizards pulling carts. Some were dressed in armor, some in costumes resembling dancers, and others were completely shrouded in black robes. It was all incredibly exaggerated. Exposed to the unwelcome gaze, the boy crossed his arms and simultaneously accepted the reality. So, this is it, right? He snapped his fingers, pointing to the crowd staring at him. The so-called otherworldly summoning. Just then, a carriage pulled by a giant lizard ran past him. Damn it! What a joke! Subaru covered his face in a state of near collapse. the shockwave from his unconscious outburst cracking the floor around him. I finally awakened the same superpower as my father, and I was just about to show off. I even made plans to train with him tomorrow morning. Why were I sent to another world at this time? Natsuki Subaru felt like he was having a nightmare, but pinching his cheeks or bg his head against the wall wouldn't wake him up. Incidentally, the wall he rammed his head against collapsed. To avoid being caught and forced to pay compensation, Subaru could only sigh and flee into an alley, where he sat down on the stone-paved ground. Well. Subaru let out a breath longer than a sigh, and looked out into the alley. Everywhere he looked, he saw humans with dog and cat ears on their heads, and he could also catch glimpses of mutants who looked like lizards. So why do lizardmen use lizards to pull carts? Are they enslaving their own kind? How is that any different from Goofy leading Pluto? Advertisement. Subaru couldn't help but think of an animated show he watched as a child called Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, in which a dog wearing clothes would walk another dog that wasn't wearing clothes. Back then, my parents watched this anime with me. Their faces flashed through my mind, but I don't have time to be homesick now, I need to find a way to escape my current situation first. With that thought in mind, Subaru stood up and strode towards the road. Then, bang! Distracted, Subaru seemed to accidentally bump into something. With a scream, a figure flew backward and crashed heavily to the ground. Ouch! I'm so sorry. Subaru's pupils contracted sharply, and he quickly bowed to the person he had bumped into, apologizing profusely. UBD. Are you looking for trouble? Hey! You little brat, do you want to die? Ouch! My hand is twisted. A man who looked like a thug was lying on the ground, hugging his arms and groaning. Two other thugs, one tall and one short, were helping him up with concern. This is bad. Non-existent cold sweat beaded on his forehead. Knowing he had hurt an innocent bystander, Subaru desperately tried to appeal to their emotions, shrinking his body and repeatedly apologizing, I'm sorry. I didn't control my power well, it was my fault. This can't just be left like this, you brat. The burly thug grabbed Subaru by the collar and dragged him deeper into the alley without a word. I'm really sorry, do you need any compensation? Although I'm practically penniless. Knowing he was in the wrong, Natsuki Subaru didn't resist and let the big guy drag him along. Of course you have to pay compensation. The thug who had been accidentally knocked away by Subaru was furious, pulling out a gleaming knife and pointing it at him. Since you're a penniless pauper, you can have your odd clothes or shoes, but you can just obediently become food for the rats in the alley. After saying that, he swung the knife forcefully toward Subaru's head. The tip of the knife flashed with a cold light, and anyone could see that the knife was exceptionally sharp. When, with a crisp sound, metal fragments flew everywhere. The knife broke in two, leaving the thug with only the hilt in his hand, the gleaming tip spinning in the air before landing. Hey! Looking at the knife tip on the ground, then at the handle of the knife in his hand, the thug's brain was overloaded, and he clearly didn't understand what was going on. I'm sorry, Subaru said, unharmed after taking the thug's powerful blow with his head not even a white mark on his forehead. He looked earnestly into the thug's eyes. I apologize again for my carelessness. If this makes you feel better, please continue. Chapter 2. This guy. The thug stared blankly at the broken knife, finally realizing he'd chosen the wrong target. Okay, we forgive you. The thug, beads of sweat forming on his forehead, sheathed his broken knife with a hint of fear. Next time, be careful where you walk, don't bump into anyone again. Without even daring to pick up the knife tip from the ground, the three thugs, the small-time hoodlum, the big hoodlum, and the little hoodlum scrambled and tumbled away from the alley. Well. For some reason, Subaru felt extremely tired. Perhaps it was mental exhaustion, or perhaps he hadn't yet figured out the current situation. Last night, he awakened his Witrum bloodline and gained the superpowers he had longed for 17 years. Just as he was preparing to receive his father's training and strive to become a superhero like his father, he was transported to another world. Less than 10 minutes after landing, he knocked someone else flying. It seems like people from another world have rather short tempers. They'll pull out a knife and start attacking at the drop of a hat. Ouch! My hand! I twisted it again. Get out of my way! Get out of my way! That guy over there is really blocking my way! Someone cried out in desperation and rushed into the alley. Just as the thug was about to leave the alley, he was unfortunately hit and sent flying again. Hit twice in 1 minute, Zhen will probably have to stay in bed for 10 days to half a month to recover. Who is Zhen? That's the name Subaru just gave to the trio, Adun, Zhen, Ahan. Like Adon, Ajahn, and Ahan, who looked up in astonishment, Subaru didn't move his body, but simply raised his gaze. A petite girl, her shoulder-length blonde hair swaying, walked past in front of me. The girl had seemingly strong-willed red eyes and amusing fangs. Her first impression is one of pride, but her appearance makes her smile even more adorable than most people. Ah, finally I've met a cute girl. This is the standard Isekai, another world, storyline progression. Hey! Excuse me. The blonde girl didn't stop to glance at the 4 people in the alley, she easily passed them with a few quick changes of direction, creating a gentle breeze in the process. She ran straight to the end of the alley, kicked off the wooden plank standing at the end of the alley, then easily grabbed the wall, disappearing above the building in an instant like a nimble swallow. The girl disappeared, leaving only silence at the scene. Subaru hesitated for a moment, then reached out to Zhen, who was lying on the ground. Zhen, are you all right? Hey! Zhen's attitude was quite rude, showing no sign that he had just been writhing on the ground in pain. However, he still accepted Subaru's kindness and let Subaru help him up. By the way, who is Zhen? It doesn't matter anymore, it doesn't matter, Subaru simply pulled gently, and Zhen flew off the ground as if she had no weight. Fortunately, Subaru's control over the force was quite good this time, and Zhen was not injured. Well, goodbye then. I'll pay for your medical expenses once I earn enough money. Subaru waved goodbye to the trio of Adun, Ajin, and Ahan. After the trio left, Subaru stared at the broken blade tip on the ground, lost in thought. That being said, just how strong is my physical fitness right now? Recalling Zhen's powerful strike just now, how a man in his 20s wielding a sharp weapon and swinging it with all his might could not even break his own skin, Subaru couldn't help but marvel at the miraculous physique of Witrum. When Subaru stays at home, he often exercises by swinging a wooden sword. Although he can't compare to his superhuman father, his wrist strength is already greater than that of an average person, and his grip strength in one hand reaches 70 kilograms. After Subaru awakened his Witrum bloodline, he did not have a clear understanding of his own power. So, Subaru picked up the knife tip, squatted down on the steps of the alley, took off his coat, and then pointed the knife tip at his forearm. Although it was just a test of physical strength, it really does look like the landmine girl has been modified into a flower knife. 3, 2, 1. Count down to the third note, Subaru presses the tip of the knife downwards. The sharp blade didn't leave any scratches on Subaru's skin until Subaru began to gradually increase the pressure. Push harder, push harder. Bang! The blade shattered under Subaru's immense force, and only then did white marks appear on his skin. The knife's quality is terrible. Subaru, still somewhat unsatisfied, grabbed the remaining metal fragments and applied them to his skin. Please stop. Don't hurt yourself anymore. The pleasant sound of silver bells rang in his ears, and Subaru suddenly looked up at the alley entrance. A beautiful young girl stood at the entrance of the alley. She had long, silver hair that reached her waist, styled in a braid, and her intelligent, blue-purple eyes were gazing at them. Her soft features combined beauty and youthfulness, giving off a strangely dangerous charm that emanated from her nobility. She was a head shorter than Subaru, about 1.6 meters tall. The white-based clothing, devoid of elaborate embellishments, is simple in design, which only enhances its presence. The only striking feature was the long robe she wore, embroidered with intricate bird motifs, which added to her solemnity. Wait a minute. You've got it wrong, it's not what you think. Subaru hurriedly put down the knife, as if he had been caught doing something wrong, and waved his hand at the silver-haired girl. The girl seemed relieved, but her expression quickly turned serious again. Could you please return what you stole from me? Hey! Please, that's something very important. Everything else is secondary, but that thing absolutely cannot be lost. You're a good person, can you honestly return my things to me? The girl earnestly extended her hand to Subaru. It wasn't me, Subaru quickly explained, seeing the girl's serious expression. He pointed to the end of the alley. The thief you're looking for should be a girl, right? She's already escaped by climbing over the wall. So, the thief is at the other end of the alley? We need to hurry and catch up. The girl frowned, turned her back to Subaru, and stepped out of the alley. But... your hand is hurt, isn't it? Don't move, let me treat it for you. The girl suddenly turned back, quickly walked to Subaru, grabbed his forearm without a word, and pressed her other hand on Subaru's wound. A fluorescent light emanated from her hand. Really, how could you hurt yourself? Is this magic? It's amazing. Although the wound is almost healed on its own. Thank you so much. No otaku could remain calm after being grabbed by the arm by a beautiful girl, including Natsuki Subaru. I wasn't hurting myself, it's not what you think. Subaru looked into the girl's blue-purple eyes, which were as clear and bright as the most precious gems. Subaru Natsuki, a complete otaku at heart, had his ears turning slightly red. He felt incredibly awkward all over. Anyway, hurry up and chase after that thief, okay? Wait. The girl seemed to have noticed something. You know the girl who stole the badge from me, right? I'm sorry to have raised your expectations, but I don't know them at all. You feel guilty, so you don't dare look at me. Are you still lying now? The girl seemed to take Subaru's earlier embarrassment as a sign of guilt and kept asking him questions. Before Subaru could answer, a neutral voice rang out in the alley after the girl's voice. That was just a boy's reaction, wasn't it? I didn't sense any sign that he was lying. Chapter 3. A tiny cat, no bigger than a palm, standing on two legs, was floating beside the girl. In Subaru's knowledge, its grey fur and droopy ears are most similar to the breed known as the American Shorthair. The kitten has a pink nose, and its tail is about the same length as its body. The cat talked. Subaru's reaction was quite strong. Hey, really? The serious expression vanished from her face, and her previous stern demeanor disappeared without a trace, replaced by a slightly flustered look. Judging from your expression, you've lost something very important, haven't you? Subaru stood up, brushing the dust off his pants. I'm so grateful that Miss stayed behind to treat me. You must be in a hurry, right? You should hurry and go after it. Don't get me wrong, we only stayed because we had something to ask you. Otherwise, we would have left already. That's it, don't get the wrong idea. The beautiful girl emphasized this repeatedly, speaking in a strong tone. She really is a tsundere. Subaru nodded repeatedly as he listened to the girl's words. As expected of another world, tsundere really does exist. They don't exist in reality, at least I haven't encountered one. Well then, we're in a hurry, so we'll be going now. Your injuries should be mostly healed. Next time, please don't hurt yourself. And if you're ever feeling down, please don't do anything foolish like that again. I'm not worried, I'm giving you advice. Even if you hurt yourself again next time. I won't benefit from saving you, so don't expect me to lend a hand. She really is a tsundere. The girl chattered on and on, like a machine gun. She took Subaru's silence as agreement, and nodded with satisfaction, saying, "Okay." Then he turned around. Her long silver hair swayed with the girl's movements, shimmering with a fantastical light in the dim alley. "Hey, wait a minute." Subaru stood at the entrance of the alley, facing the main road, his back to the hesitant figure who didn't know which way to go, and shouted. The girl, stroking her long silver hair, turned around, her expression somewhat confused. "Aren't you trying to catch that thief?" "I have a way to help you," Subaru suggested to the girl. The girl's important possession was stolen. Despite being very anxious, she still managed to dissuade Subaru from taking his own life and even treated his wounds. Having been in this strange world for only half an hour, the girl was the first sign of kindness he encountered in this foreign land. Subaru hopes to repay this kindness. "Even though I can't be a superhero back home, I can still help others in this other world, just like my dad." "Weren't you looking for something important?" Subaru looked directly into the girl's blue-violet eyes. "Let me help you too." "But you said you didn't know anything." "I have a way. It's strange to say this to someone I just met, but can you trust me?" Subaru's eyes were sincere. "My father once told me, with great power comes great responsibility. Now that I have the same abilities as my dad, I have a responsibility to help others in need, just like he did." "You're a strange person." The girl pressed her finger to her lips, tilting her head to look at him as if she were looking at some Pokémon. "Let me make it clear beforehand, I can't give you a reward. As you can see, I'm penniless." "Don't worry, I'm a penniless pauper too." Subaru proudly patted his chest, though Natsuki Subaru himself didn't understand what was so proud of about it. "By the way, I'm also very poor, it's really pathetic, our poor people's group." The cat poked its head out from the girl's silver hair and beckoned. "I don't need a gift. Just like you said I was a good person at the beginning, I also think you're a good person, so please let me help you." "No need to trouble you, if you need." Subaru interrupted the girl, "Helping you isn't a problem for me. My father once told me, with great power comes great responsibility. Now that I have the ability, I have the responsibility to help you." "Ability?" Subaru's determined expression made the girl think, but the kitten sitting on her shoulder gently poked her cheek with its paws. "All right, I didn't sense any malice, so how about I just accept it obediently? After all, the capital is so big, searching without any clues or leads would be too chaotic. But what if I get him involved in this kind of thing? Even having more people to take the hits would be nice." The kitten said something terrifying. "So, what do you plan to do?" The girl looked at Subaru. "You just mentioned, an ability? Do you possess tracking magic?" "I don't know that kind of magic. In fact, I don't know any magic at all. I'm a complete novice in this area," Subaru said with a hint of pride, extending his arm to the girl. "But I can fly. It may be a bit presumptuous, but please hold on tight to my arm, or I can carry you on my back." "Hey, fly? What?" The girl was puzzled and timidly placed her hand on Subaru's arm. "Then, hurry up." "Hey!" Subaru pushed off the ground with both legs, and with a whooshing sound, he was lifted into the air, hovering above the rooftops of buildings. Looking down at the scenery below, Subaru's face was full of excitement. "Sure enough, no matter how many times I fly, the feeling of flying is still just as exciting." "Ah! Oh, I'm sorry." Overcome with excitement, Subaru momentarily forgot to consider the feelings of the passenger on his arm and quickly apologized to the girl. The girl clung tightly to Subaru's arms, dangling precariously in midair in a manner similar to hanging from a horizontal bar. "Excuse me." Subaru quickly landed on a nearby rooftop. The landing was relatively smooth, avoiding the tragedy that Subaru experienced while practicing flying before crossing over. "It's nothing, phew, I got a fright." The girl patted her chest. Was that flying magic? Or a blessing? That's quite rare. In the original story, there seem to be very few creatures that can fly. Sloth was carried by a hand, so it counts as half a flying creature. No, Subaru thought for a moment, if I had to say, I'd call it a racial talent. Racial talent? The girl slowly pondered Subaru's words, then glanced at his entire body, her gaze lingering on his forehead for a moment. "Aren't you human? Lying isn't right, you know. I don't see any other demi-human characteristics on you. Because of my dad, I guess." Seeing that the girl was willing to chat, Subaru plopped down, gazing at the sky with a melancholy expression. In reality, he was recalling what his father had once told him: "My father isn't human, he's a Vitrumian, someone who looks exactly like a human, or as you would say, a demi-human. And my mom is just an ordinary human being. I'm a hybrid, born from a Witrumian father and a normal human mother, let's call me a half-Witrumian. Actually, I've wanted to talk about this with someone for a while, especially after my bloodline awakened yesterday." Subaru explained to himself, lost in his own world. He was completely oblivious to the fact that something was off about the girl's expression. Chapter 4. The girl parted her red lips slightly, and a certain light shone in her blue-purple eyes. "Will it affect my life?" After a moment of silence, the girl asked Subaru, "It's about your bloodline." "Ah, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked." "If you don't want to answer, just pretend nothing happened." Only then did the girl realize that she had asked a very offensive question, and her pretty face immediately flushed red as she apologized to Subaru. Her blushing face is so incredibly cute. Long live the fantasy world. If I had to point out any impact, it would be that I might lose control of my strength and crush the water glass. Subaru, still trying to calm the girl's face, clearly didn't find it offensive. "I'm quite happy to be a Witrum half-blood, like inheriting both my father's courage and my mother's gentleness. That's a bit nonsensical, anyway. I've never felt inferior or arrogant because of my mixed-race heritage." A perfectly timed breeze blew by, ruffling Subaru and the girl's hair. The midday sun shone on them, while people came and went on the street below. And they seemed to exist outside of this world. "Is that so?" The girl lowered her head and brushed the silver hair at her temples with her hand. Due to the angle, Subaru didn't see the slight reddening of the pointed ears hidden behind the silver hair. "Oh, by the way, I still don't know your name. Let me introduce myself first." Subaru raised one index finger to the sky, placed the other hand near his waist, and simultaneously thrust his hips forward, forming an S shape with his feet slightly wider than shoulder width apart. "My name is Natsuki Subaru. I'm ignorant and penniless, please take care of me. Just from your introduction, I can tell how desperate your situation is." The kitten reappeared, hovering in the air in a figure-8 pattern. "And I'm Parker, nice to meet you." Parker's body flew up, giving Subaru's outstretched hand a dynamic handshake. From an outsider's perspective, Subaru looked like he was about to crush Puck. His bold way of interacting with people made the girl blink repeatedly. However, whether it was Subaru Natsuki's imagination or not, the girl's attitude towards him seemed to have improved considerably. Maybe it was my confident self-introduction that worked. It's rare to see someone who can converse so freely with elves. "You say you're a Vitrumian? Where are you from?" The girl deliberately changed the subject, asking Subaru where he was from. According to the usual pattern, it's a small island nation to the east. Subaru crossed his arms, choosing to believe the words of his predecessors who had transmigrated before him. Lunica is located at the easternmost edge of the continental map, so there are no other countries further east of it. "No way. Is this already the Far East?" Subaru's answer made the girl uneasy. "I don't know where I am, I have no money, I can't read, I have no one to rely on, and I'm mixed race. Your situation is probably worse than mine. Hey! What are you doing standing on my roof? The window at their feet opened, and a middle-aged woman's head popped out. She turned and shouted angrily at the two people and a cat on the roof, "Get down here right now! If you break any tiles, I'll call the guards." "Oh no! We have to go." Subaru turned his back to the girl and gestured for her to climb onto his back. The girl hesitated for a moment, then clung to Subaru's body like a koala. "Hold on tight." Phew! A surge of air propelled Subaru, carrying the girl, into the sky. The wind swept past them, ruffling the hair of the young men and women, and they could see most of the capital city below. Speaking of which, Subaru glanced back at the girl on his back during the flight. "I already know the name of your cat, but I still don't know yours." "My name." Although Subaru had deliberately reduced his interest in her name while speaking, the girl still seemed a little surprised and widened her eyes. Then she closed her eyes, and after a few seconds of silence, "Emily, Sadala." "Oh." Thinking that the other person's silence was a curse for his thoughtless speech, Subaru was a step too late in responding to her soft muttering. Upon hearing his response, the girl turned her face away from Subaru. "I don't have a surname, just call me Sadala." The voice sounded completely emotionless. Although the speaker introduced themselves, they conveyed an attitude of not wanting to be addressed that way. Sadala, this self-proclaimed girl, suddenly revealed a distance she had never seen before. If possible, he hoped she could tell him a surname that was easy to address, but her words made Subaru afraid to call her by her first name, so he could only remain silent. In the end, he cowardly decided that he would just call her by the second person. Watching the interaction between the two, Parker, hidden in his silver hair, suddenly blurted out, "I thought, this is really a twisted sense of humor." But not only Subaru heard the muttering, even the girl didn't hear it. "Hey, Sadala, let's call this the silver-haired girl for now," suddenly patted Subaru on the shoulder, "over there." Whoa! Subaru's body suddenly tilted violently in the direction Sadala had slapped him, tumbling twice in the air before barely regaining his balance, almost throwing Sadala off. "I'm still not very good at flying, sorry." "So what's that over there? Honestly, how dare you give someone a ride?" Sadala muttered to Subaru for the first time. She shook her slightly dizzy head, pointed to a little girl with water stains on her face by the roadside below, and said earnestly, "Tell me, Subaru, doesn't she look lost?" A girl, about 10 years old, stood by a building across the street. Her shoulder-length blue hair looked endearing. She had a lovely face that could spread joy to those around her when she smiled, but now her eyes were filled with unease, and she looked like she was about to cry, ruining that pretty face. "Wait, aren't we going to find?" Subaru turned to look at Sadala behind him. "Finding lost items is important, but we can't ignore lost children either." Sadala looked into Subaru's eyes with unprecedented seriousness. "And that child is crying, isn't he, Subaru?" Subaru seemed stunned, while Sadala's blue-violet eyes held a resolute attitude. "It's okay if you can't cooperate. Just let me down." Sadala gently patted Subaru's shoulder. "Subaru, thank you for coming here with me. I'll try to figure something out myself. No matter what, I can't leave that child alone." Seeing that Subaru remained silent, Sadala seemed to have decided to part ways with him. Her statement was less about disliking Subaru for not following her own wishes, and more about preventing Subaru from conforming to her willfulness. "Okay." Subaru landed on the ground with Sadala. Chapter 5. With her silver hair swaying, Sadala dismounted from Subaru's back and jogged across the road to approach the girl. The girl suddenly noticed someone standing in front of her. She looked up abruptly, her eyes brimming with hope, perhaps thinking that the person she was looking for had also found her. "I'm so sorry, I'm not the person you're looking for," Sadala said gently to the girl as she knelt down. When the girl realized this wasn't the person she was looking for, her expression completely changed, the relief that had just appeared in her eyes instantly turned into fear. The girl was already terrified of being separated from her parents, and being approached by a stranger only added to her fear. What's wrong? Where are your parents? Aren't they with you? Sadala noticed the girl was scared, so she softened her voice even more, but her concern didn't reach the frightened girl. Upon hearing Sadala's words, the girl's eyes began to well up with large tears, which eventually overflowed. Please don't cry, okay? I won't hurt you. Despite her attempts to open the girl's tightly closed heart, her comforting words seemed to have the opposite effect, leaving Sadala herself feeling helpless. What I have in my hand now are 3 ordinary 50 yen coins. A hand was stretched out in front of the two of them. Well. Sadala looked up and saw a boy in a black and orange tracksuit standing beside her. Okay, now I'm going to crush them with my hands. Subaru held the coin between his hands and rubbed it together, making humph 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 sounds. The girl and Sadala stared intently at Subaru's performance. Then, wait, that's strange. Subaru opened his palm, and the 3 coins that had been held between his fingers had vanished. Wow! The girl stared wide-eyed at Subaru, the tears that had been hanging at the corners of her eyes disappearing without her noticing, her curiosity temporarily overshadowing the unease she felt about being separated from her loved ones. Subaru gave the girl the gentlest smile, softly stroking her head. Look, the missing coin has reappeared here. A finger traced through the girl's hair, leaving behind a small metal flower made of twisted coins. Wow! The girl stopped crying and started laughing, while Sadala was also stunned by the magic trick. Here you go, this is worth 150 yen, so cherish it. Subaru placed the coin-shaped flower in the girl's hand. Holding the coin carefully, the little girl nodded vigorously in response, thank you. Oh, I see. You got separated from your mother. Subaru and Sadala walked down the street, one on each side of the girl, holding her hand. Don't worry, it's all right, Subaru squeezed the girl's hand to reassure her, leave her to your older brother and sister, we'll help you find your mother right away. Fortunately, the two found the lost girl's mother after walking for only a short while. The girl ran to the middle-aged woman who was kneeling on the ground, and the woman hugged the girl tightly, thank you so much, both of you. It's all right. Subaru kept smiling and waving to the mother and daughter he had reunited with, until they were out of sight. Sadala breathed a sigh of relief, a smile unconsciously spreading across her face, that's great. So, shall we continue looking for things? After their brief encounter helping the lost girl, Subaru and Sadala once again embark on their search for their lost item. By the way, actually I have a question for you, Subaru said, putting one hand in the pocket of his black and orange tracksuit jacket and snapping his fingers in front of Sadala with the other, we seem to have done a lot of unnecessary things. Tell me, miss, what good did it do for you? Subaru thus mocked the girl's overly kind personality. Sadala spoke indirectly when helping Subaru, so Subaru was quite looking forward to seeing how she would respond. It's simple. Sadala raised her head slightly, crossed her arms, and said confidently without any hint of bravado or guilt. That way we can continue our search in a more relaxed mood. So why did you offer to help? Sadala looked at Subaru seriously. Subaru, you were clearly against me doing this before. I told you, with great power comes great responsibility, Subaru said, flashing a peace sign with his outstretched hand towards Sadala. Since I have the ability to quiet children, then I have a responsibility to do so. Just as I have the ability to help lost children find their families, I also have a responsibility to do so. Sadala looked at Subaru with some disbelief. Subaru's personality is really a disadvantage. You have no right to say that. Subaru turned his face away. You're such a pushover, aren't you the one whose personality is the most disadvantageous? Now we could easily find a temple, move the statue inside to a new spot, and let Satala sit on it. It would be perfect. Perhaps Satala will even radiate a golden light filled with merit. You're not a bad child. After a moment of silence, Satala suddenly said something that Subaru never imagined would be said to him by anyone other than his parents. Wait, why are you treating me like a child? Subaru was a little unsure how to respond to Satala's words. I think we're not that far apart in age, are we? Based on this rough estimate, Subaru guesses that Satala is around 17 or 18 years old. For Subaru, who is only 17 years old, it is possible that he is younger than her, but he is definitely not in her child's generation. You're thinking differently. Satala's blue-violet eyes seemed to hold 1,000 unspoken words, filled with complex emotions Subaru couldn't comprehend, because I'm a half-elf. Satala lowered her head, the shadow of her bangs obscuring her eyes, her slender hands clasped tightly together, as if trying to grasp something that had already been lost. The half-elf identity must have caused Satala a lot of inconvenience. Seeing the girl's distress, Subaru was speechless and fell silent. No wonder she reacted so strongly to the fact that she was also of mixed race. So. I see. Subaru replied thoughtfully. Satala's already clenched hands tightened even more, and her whole body trembled almost imperceptibly. No wonder you're so cute. Subaru nodded with a look of sudden realization. After all, elves are all great beauties. Hey! Satala blinked in surprise. She had imagined a million different reactions in her mind, but none of them were like Subaru's. Is there a problem? It's not a problem, Satala shook her head. Well, think about it, I'm a half-elf. Subaru looked directly into those blue-violet eyes and said to the girl earnestly, without a trace of feigned emotion, I heard you. Satala stopped in her tracks, standing there, staring blankly at the boy. Hey! Subaru stopped in his tracks, turned around to look at the girl behind him, and asked, why did you stop? You big idiot! Satala turned her face away from Subaru and squatted down on the road, her hands in her hair, holding her head. Chapter 6. That. Seeing Satala's somewhat inexplicable behavior, Subaru was momentarily at a loss for words. Hey! Parker suddenly flew out from Satala's silver hair and charged towards Subaru in the form of Witrum. Duan! A gentle meow-like punch landed on Subaru's cheek, causing no pain whatsoever. The soft, squishy paw pads felt wonderful to the touch. Why did you suddenly hit me? Nothing, I just wanted to relieve the itching sensation. Parker's fur bristled as he entered his Spinosaurus form. Just as Subaru was about to press Parker for answers, Satala interrupted their conversation. Seriously? Subaru, you good for nothing. The girl twirled the end of her silver hair with her fingers, glaring at Subaru with angry eyes, but though it was angry, the emotion hidden inside was more like shame and indignation. The term loser isn't popular anymore, Subaru said, looking at Satala who was still squatting on the ground. And why did you insult me? Humph. I don't care. The girl turned her head away, a faint blush spreading across her cheeks, and stood up nonchalantly. Right, we need to keep looking for things. What? Subaru glossed over the unreasonable treatment he received in a single sentence, his face full of resentment. But there was no use in being resentful, Subaru had no choice but to keep quiet about it. With a face full of resentment, Subaru followed Satala on her search. Oh, right, Subaru called to Satala, look around, haven't we circled back again? Hey! Satala looked around, alleyways, fruit stands, shops, fountains, fruit stands, alleyways. Yet. Oh no! You're not the kind of person who has no sense of direction, are you? Subaru was getting a little frantic. He carried Satala and took off from the alley, circling half of the capital city, then helped the lost girl find her mother, and then... They actually wandered all the way back to the starting point? Are you kidding me? Subaru still vaguely remembered that after leaving the convenience store, he opened his eyes and found himself standing by the fountain. Doesn't that mean half a day's search efforts were wasted? Although nothing was actually successful. As expected, actions without a plan yield no results, we still need to. Hey, buddy, wanna buy some apples? Subaru's thoughts were interrupted by a shout, and he looked up in surprise. A middle-aged man with green hair wearing a black headscarf stood in front of the fruit stand next to Subaru. He was wearing a cardigan vest that revealed strong muscles. He had an exceptionally fierce appearance and a scar on his face, resembling a gangster. He was probably the owner of that fruit stand. He was holding up a red fruit and asking Subaru if he wanted to buy it. Is this an apple? Subaru asked hesitantly, looking at the round, red fruit. Yes, it's an apple. So, buddy, do you want to buy one? Oh, so there are apples in another world too? That's great. Seeing familiar things in an unfamiliar place is reassuring. Do you want some? Subaru asked Sadala, turning his head slightly. If you're buying some, you should definitely get one for me too. Although you have strange expectations of me, Sadala nodded, then shook her head, her silver hair shimmering brightly in the sunlight. I'd actually like to eat some too, but I didn't bring any money. Girls don't have money, it's really a headache, the shopkeeper sighed, one hand on his hip. Young man, are you buying? I really want to buy it, but... Subaru proudly gave the shopkeeper a peace sign, I'm broke too. A complete idiot, utterly penniless. Then get out of my way. Don't get in my way of doing business. The boss's attitude underwent a complete 180-degree turn, his expression became distorted, making him look more like a gangster than a real gangster. What the hell? Subaru was shooed away by the fruit stand owner and headed out. Even poor people have the right to eat apples. Incidentally, Sadala was also kicked out and did not receive any preferential treatment because of her beautiful appearance. Elder brother. An excited, childish voice rang out, and Subaru and Sadala turned around. What came into view was a girl being led by the hand of a middle-aged woman, who was happily greeting the two of them. I ran into that girl who got lost from her mother again. Thank you so much for your help earlier. The middle-aged woman gave Subaru and Sadala a slight bow. The girl she was holding was still shaking her arm vigorously, and Subaru was a little worried that the girl would shake her arm off if she used too much force. Why are you here? Subaru asked, somewhat puzzled. This is my husband's stall, we just happened to be passing by. Husband? Subaru and Sadala exchanged bewildered glances at the unexpected answer. They slowly turned around and looked at the scarred man standing in the store with his arms crossed and legs spread apart. How could a middle-aged woman with slender lines and a gentle appearance marry a fruit stand owner whose demeanor rivals that of a mafia boss? If you're being threatened, just blink. Many unsettling scenarios flashed through Subaru's mind, and that unease spread across his face. Daddy. The little girl let go of her mother's hand, ran past Subaru who was thinking very rude things, and excitedly ran towards the fruit stand owner, clinging to him like an octopus. The boss's terrifying scarred face softened, and he gently stroked the girl's head with his large hand. Good girl, good girl. Speaking of which, do you know these two penniless guys? The boss snapped out of his reverie and asked his wife about Subaru and Sadala, though his tone wasn't very friendly. It seemed Subaru had left a very strong negative impression on him. Darling, please don't call them poor bastards, it's so rude. The middle-aged woman raised an eyebrow and offered advice to her boss regarding his inappropriate language. Then she explained to her husband the whole story of what happened between them and the girl. Well. The boss looked at Subaru with a complicated expression, and Subaru could only respond with an awkward smile. I'm so sorry for speaking ill of my benefactor. Please forgive me. The boss removed his hand from the girl's head and gave Subaru and Sadala a proper apology. Sister, Here you go. The girl, struggling to break free from her father's embrace, reached out to Sati, her small hand clutching a red flower-shaped ornament. Sadala gasped, looking back and forth between the little girl and the floral decorations, appearing quite troubled. Please accept this, my daughter wants to thank you in her own way. The woman gave the confused Sadala a push. Hearing her say that, Sadala slightly lowered her chin and solemnly accepted the floral ornament from the little girl's hand, as if it were not a cheap children's ornament, but a priceless piece of jewelry. No, even real jewelry was less important to Sadala than the floral ornaments the girl had given her. Sadala pinned the floral ornament to the left breast of her white robe, then crouched down so the girl could easily see it. A smile brighter than any floral adornment bloomed on Sadala's face. See, good deeds are rewarded. Sadala proudly placed her hands on her hips and said to Subaru in a cheerful tone, in the end, it's all for your own good. Chapter 7. The sun sets in the west, and dusk is approaching. The setting sun reflected in Sadala's blue-purple eyes, giving them an almost bewitching glow, a beauty worthy of an anime cover, if you ignored the surrounding environment. The drain beside the street emitted a damp and pungent stench, the buildings were low, and their once clean white walls were now covered in stains. Most of the people walking on the street were pale and thin. Although their clothes were not so bad as to be barely clothed, they were not exactly refined or beautiful either. If I had to rank it, I'd say it's on par with Subaru's style. The apple vendor was talking about this place, wasn't he? Subaru, hands in his pockets, casually surveyed his surroundings as if he'd lived here for over a decade. The slums. Farah. That child who stole my things seems to be quite famous around here, Sadala said, stroking the emerald pendant hanging from her chest. Would anyone be willing to tell us if we asked? About Felt. You probably won't get any information out of them, Subaru shook his head. No one would reveal information about their accomplices to strangers without any benefit in it. And Subaru kept an eye on the residents on the street, and the way they looked at Sadala was quite unfriendly. Perhaps it's because Sadala's attire is so out of place here. That Puck flew out from Sadala's silver hair, interrupting Subaru and Sadala's conversation. Whatever your search plan, please act quickly, my time is almost up. What do you mean? Is it time? Subaru asked Parker. Parker flicked his beard with his forepaw, looked up at the sky, and the two of them followed suit, only then realizing that most of the sky visible between the buildings had turned a beautiful orange-red. Although I'm cute, I'm still an elf, Puck said, sounding a little tired, his head bobbing up and down like a chick pecking at rice, so I have to go back to the crystal I reside in at night to recharge before sunrise. Sorry, I've reached my limit, Parker said, forcing himself to shake off his pecking motion. Perched on Sadala's shoulder, his blue cat eyes fixed on the girl's blue-violet pupils, don't do anything rash. If things get dangerous, summon me even if it costs you OED. I'm sorry I made you push yourself so hard, Parker, Sadala said, taking the emerald pendant from her chest and holding it in her hands. I'll try my best from now on. Get some rest. Parker walked along Sadala's shoulder towards her palm, and when he reached the crystal, he stretched out his small body to hug it. The emerald on the girl's palm emitted a faint light, and Parker's small body gradually turned into particles of light. Parker turned back one last time and waved his arm at Subaru. I'm counting on you from now on, Subaru. In the very end, Parker glanced at Sadala, then vanished completely from the world, dispersing into a scattering of green light particles that then coalesced into the emerald in Sadala's hand. Phew, I haven't been alone with a girl since I graduated elementary school. Wait, now's not the time to think about that. Subaru shook his head vigorously, trying to shake off the inexplicable thoughts. Speaking of which, have you figured out what to do next? I have a few ideas. I've got it. To Subaru's surprise, Sadala came up with a plan. I'm going to ask the microsprites. Microelves. Micro-sprites are beings that haven't yet grown into sprites, Sadala explained to Subaru. Given time to grow and develop power and consciousness, they will become full-fledged sprites like Puck. Subaru gave him an icy look. This is probably a setting unique to another world. Sadala closed her eyes and bowed her head, her expression like that of a devoutly praying monk. Her lips parted as she spoke softly in a language Subaru couldn't understand. Bright blue lights, like fireflies, appeared out of nowhere and surrounded the girl. 1, 2, until Subaru lost count of how many there were. Sadala seemed to be swimming among the Milky Way, with Canis Major and Canis Minor close to the girl's silver hair, Orion beside her blue-violet eyes, and Lyra nestled against the emerald pendant on her chest. At that moment, the Milky Way was also reflected in the boy's eyes. Beautiful, so beautiful. Forgive Natsuki Subaru, who only has a junior high school education. Even with all his vocabulary, he cannot accurately describe the girl's beauty. Stunningly beautiful, like fish sinking and geese falling from the sky? That's too conventional. A beauty that could topple kingdoms and cities? That's too vulgar. A beauty of unparalleled grace and fragrance? That's too ordinary. Beautiful as a flower? Not that ugly. To see this, even dying would be worth it. Subaru, what did you say? Subaru was completely mesmerized and didn't even notice Sadala approaching. Sadala had ended her conversation with the micro-sprites at some point, and she had somehow appeared before Subaru, witnessing countless moments of Subaru's infatuated gaze. No. Subaru blushed and shook his head in denial, his eyes darting around as he turned his head away, avoiding Sadala's gaze. Let's go, Subaru. Sadala tilted her head, pointing to an alleyway beside her. The micro-fairy said she saw a blonde girl with red eyes walking that way. But as the two walked along the narrow alley, the surroundings became increasingly desolate. Is this really the place? Subaru looked around and his eyes met those of a bearded man not far away. Hey, bro. Subaru waved familiarly. Isn't Felt's house up ahead? Hey? Felt. The man was puzzled as to why Subaru had called him over, but then he understood. The only place left up ahead is Rom's hideout. Young man, your things were stolen by Felt, weren't they? Try talking to them calmly, you might be able to buy them back. Perhaps it was Subaru's slum-style attire that had the effect. In any case, the man's initial impression of Subaru was quite positive, and he quickly shared his information. Thanks, bro. Good luck, little brother. Subaru said goodbye to the man. The sky had completely darkened, and the last rays of the setting sun in the distance had vanished without a trace. Sadala reached into her robes, took out 2 white crystals, and tapped them against the wall. The crystals began to emit a faint glow. She gave one of the crystals to Subaru. Oh! This stone is really convenient. Subaru held the white crystal up and down like a child, the slightly warm crystal in his hand emitting a hazy light, about the brightness of a candle. Lagamet ore is everywhere, you really are out of touch with reality, Subaru. Sadala's tone was one of surprise, and Subaru felt like he had asked another stupid, common-sense question. Subaru and Sadala surveyed the abandoned mansion before them, using the light from the Lagamet ore. It's bigger than I imagined. Looks like there are some really brave thieves among us. Subaru exclaimed sincerely, holding up the ore. But why should we spend money just to get our stolen goods back? Sadala was still thinking about what the man had just said. I want to go in honestly, say we've had something stolen, ask them to look inside, and if they find it, they'll return it to us. Subaru sighed almost imperceptibly. Sadala's personality is too straightforward, lacking any flexibility or adaptability to social situations. Following her arguments would likely result in a high probability of failure. However, it is precisely because Sadala is this kind of person that she was able to stop Subaru, a complete stranger, from harming himself. If it were Subaru, and he saw a man with a fierce look in a dark alley, slashing his own arm with a knife, he would definitely not go up to stop him, because who knows what kind of mentally ill person the other person might be. From the bottom of his heart, Subaru greatly admires people with Sadala's personality. Chapter 8. Preview note: the power levels in the original RE0 manga feel very disorganized, and the animation during fights is also quite inexplicable. Therefore, this article has made balance adjustments to the combat power between the aliens and the RE0 world. Speaking of which, what was stolen from you? Subaru asked Sadala, standing at the entrance of the abandoned mansion. I still don't know. Hey? Didn't I tell you? Sadala covered her mouth with her hand. I'm sorry. I thought you already told me. It's a badge made of a metallic mineral, about this size. Sadala gestured in the air with her hand. It has dragon-shaped patterns on it, and a small gemstone is set in the very center. A badge inlaid with jewels. Subaru volunteered to Sadala, don't worry, leave this to me. I'll figure out a way to negotiate. Understood, I'll leave it to Subaru. Sadala looked on in surprise at his suggestion. Even her surprised expression is so cute. Subaru thought to himself, preparing to refute Sadala's concerns. Understood, I'll leave it to Subaru. Hey! Subaru was now puzzled. You're actually being compliant. Judging from the previous situation, you would definitely say something like, leaving it to a piece of trash like you. I'd laugh my head off, and then decide to take action yourself. I wouldn't say something so outrageous. Subaru's exaggerated paranoia angered Sadala, but she coughed and stared at Subaru with a hint of mockery in her amethyst eyes, while it would be polite to say that Subaru didn't hold us back. Was that just polite talk? But Sadala said seriously to Subaru, I want to believe you. If things go well, consider it a bonus. At this moment, they should look up at me and say, cheer me on. That would really motivate me. I won't talk like that, Sadala said, the fluorescent light from the ragmatite ore illuminating her face, making her already beautiful features even more radiant. But, good luck. Yes, I will try my best. Subaru smiled and replied, then walked towards the entrance to the stolen goods storage area. With his hand on the door knocker, Subaru turned around and looked at the girl behind him, carefully handing her the plastic bag. It won't take long, but you can eat something to pass the time first. That's right. Even though he had been in the other world for a whole day, Subaru still had the snacks he bought at the convenience store with him. He hadn't thrown them away, nor had he eaten them. Don't talk nonsense, be careful. Sadala didn't understand what Subaru was talking about, but she still took the plastic bag and held it in her hand. I understand, Subaru took a deep breath. Sadala, you too. If I don't call you, please don't come in, okay? The courage to venture into dangerous territory prompted Subaru to utter Sadala's name. The name he had been too shy to say all this time was finally spoken aloud. Subaru clenched his fist and stole a glance at Sadala's expression. What's wrong? Contrary to Subaru's expectations, Sadala was completely stiff, her blue-purple eyes wide open. This unexpected reaction made Subaru tilt his head and ask, but Sadala shook her head a moment later. No, it's nothing, it's nothing. Sadala smiled gently, but a hint of sadness lingered in her eyes. After you retrieve your badge, I will sincerely apologize to you. After the negotiations were successfully resolved, I really wanted to see her smile again, not this sad one, but a genuine, bright smile. Knock, knock, knock. Excuse me. I knocked on the door several times, but there was no response from inside. Subaru gently pushed the door open, and to his surprise, it opened easily. The door wasn't locked. Strange. Subaru stepped into the warehouse, holding the lagmat ore. The interior was dark, with no lights on. The first thing Subaru saw was the counter directly in front of him. The area above and behind the counter where guests are greeted is crammed with all sorts of items. There are many kinds of items, including small boxes, pots, swords, and inexpensive precious metals. It seems this was originally a hotel or similar building. It appears to also function as a bar now. Alright, what kind of monsters and demons will appear? Subaru scanned the counter, but didn't find anything resembling Sadala's emblem, so he went deeper inside. Eat. Subaru seemed to have stepped on something sticky. The strange sensation on the sole of his shoe made him stop. I lifted my foot and touched the sole of the sneaker with my toes. Sure enough, there was a sticky liquid on it. Blood. Not good. Subaru instantly became alert, and the hairs on his body stood on end. Oh dear, you saw it. Something sharp flashed by. A slash that seemed capable of slicing through the world came from in front of Subaru, its target being Subaru's abdomen. It was fast, but not fast enough for Subaru to react. He swung the ragmite downwards with force. Clang! The sound of metal clashing rang out, and the ore, unable to withstand the immense force of both sides, shattered into fragments and exploded. Shrapnel hurtled through the room at breakneck speed, the sounds of flesh being pierced echoing as many fragments of ragmatite ore embedded themselves in the attackers' bodies. The large area of white fluorescent debris dispelled the darkness, and Subaru finally saw the attacker's true face. She was a beautiful woman with droopy eyes and an elegant and noble demeanor. Her skin was so white it looked sickly, yet it stood out even in the dimly lit warehouse. The woman was tall, about the same height as Subaru, and around 20-something years old. Although she was wearing a black coat, the open front revealed her form, making her figure cling to her body and impossible to look away from. She was slender with curves in all the right places. In short, she had a stunning figure. Like Subaru, she has black hair, which is considered rare in this world. Her long hair, reaching her waist, is tied into a braid, and she is currently playing with the ends of her hair with her fingers. Young man, you're really strong. The woman pulled the shard of mineral embedded in her body. The wound was deep and bleeding profusely, yet her face was flushed with a sickly pallor. To emerge unscathed from that barrage of shrapnel, the color of your intestines must be quite something. Actually, he wasn't completely unharmed. Subaru's tracksuit was torn with dozens of holes, and his skin was marked with white marks that felt itchy. Subaru's expression was solemn, and waves of energy surged around him. He took off from the spot and hovered a dozen centimeters above the ground, assuming a fighting stance. Hey! You! I really want to cut open your belly. Before Subaru could finish speaking, the woman charged at him again. Is this woman crazy? Subaru dodged the woman's vertical slash by sidestepping, and casually threw a wild punch at the woman's chest. Bang! The woman, who had been rushing at several times the speed of a truck, suddenly spun backward and flew directly onto the roof, as if she had been hit by a large truck. However, the woman seemed to have used some special technique to deflect Subaru's attack. She adjusted her posture in midair and finally landed lightly on the counter, like a nimble cat. Oops, the knife broke, the woman said, lifting the broken curved knife and examining the broken edge. She had just used this knife to block Subaru's heavy punch. Wow, you're really strong, sir. My whole arm is numb. If I hadn't managed to block it with the knife, I'd probably be dead by now. But, young man, you seem to lack combat experience. Pfft. Subaru's clothes on his abdomen had been torn at some point. Although the skin wasn't broken, leaving only a white mark, the cold touch of the blade still made Subaru very uncomfortable. When was it? I forgot to introduce myself, the woman said, pulling her left hand from behind her large cloak to reveal a strangely shaped scimitar, still stained with fragments of Subaru's tracksuit. I am the Bowel Hunter, Elsa Gransild. Subaru grinned, his face contorted, and bent down, trying to close his tattered clothes with his hands. Do we need to register our names before a fight? Well, I haven't decided yet, my name is Natsuki Subaru. This isn't a fight, little brother. Elsa Gransilt stuck out her red tongue, licking the shards of Subaru's clothing from her scimitar. This is a bloodbath. Chapter 9. Moonlight streamed through the side window, illuminating the standoff between the two men. Subaru's peripheral vision caught sight of two corpses on the ground, a large old man whose head had been split open and who had lost an arm, and a short-haired, blonde girl whose body had been cut open and whose intestines were spilling out. That blonde girl must be the one Sadala was looking for. Disgust, anger, a mix of emotions swirled in Subaru's heart, finally coalescing into a single thought: kill her. If I don't take care of her here, Sadala waiting outside will definitely suffer a terrible fate. Kill her. Young man, you seem a little nervous. Is this your first time on the battlefield? Elsa's face was flushed, her hands twirling her scimitar like a juggler, creating ripples of silver in the air. That's great. Take a deep breath, take a deep breath, ignore her. Subaru clenched his fists, his eyes fixed on the woman opposite him. Think about it. Subaru Natsuki, think it over carefully. Subaru doesn't quite remember how his dad fought. In my memory, my dad was always calm, collected, and incredibly powerful. Every battle he fought was devastating. No matter how vicious a villain is, they can't last more than a few rounds against dad. Fly over, land a punch to the front, and while the enemy is flying backward, rush to their back and land another punch. Okay, battle over, done. What else? Oh, right. Bang. With a sonic boom, Subaru stretched out his arms and swooped down towards Elsa at top speed. Such a direct attack won't hit me. Elsa merely leaped slightly, easily dodging Subaru's charge. Smack. A large hand grabbed Elsa's ankle and pulled her down like a rag doll. Then, his other hand went to Elsa's calf, and with a forceful squeeze, the sickeningly loud sound of bone marrow bursting echoed through the abandoned mansion. Ugh eek! Subaru spun 3.5 times in mid-air, like throwing a sandbag, and flung Elsa against the wall to the side. Blood splattered in the air as Subaru ripped Elsa's entire right leg off, leaving a jagged, uneven wound that clearly revealed her white pelvic bone. Bang! Elsa crashed through the wall of the abandoned mansion, her mangled body carving a deep ravine more than 10 meters long into the ground. Ah, what a wonderful pain! Blood was overflowing from Elsa's mouth and nose, and with each word she spoke, blood bubbles would appear at the corner of her mouth. Little brother, you're really strong. Subaru flew out of the gap created by Elsa's impact, casually discarding her right leg, his face ashen. Disgusting, really disgusting. Bones, muscles, brain matter, intestines, blood, all sorts of human tissues were scattered everywhere. The air in the abandoned mansion had been stuffy and filled with the smell of dust. Now that they've moved outdoors into fresh air, the thick, sweet, fishy smell assaults Subaru's nostrils. How disgusting! Subaru uncomfortably wiped away the pieces of viscera and blood stains that had splattered on his mouth, but his hands were already soaked in Elsa's blood, making it impossible to clean the blood stains. Instead, the more he smeared, the more blood stains appeared. How disgusting! The last time I got into a fight was in elementary school, and the bloodiest scene I'd ever seen before was a car accident. Natsuki Subaru's first 17 years were extremely ordinary. To describe them simply, one sentence would suffice: a student who attended a public high school and refused to attend in his senior year. If further explanation were needed, it would be, he also had a superhuman father. However, his superhero father didn't have much of an impact on Subaru's life. From childhood to adulthood, Subaru's father never taught him anything about fighting. Instead, he tirelessly introduced Subaru to astronomy and astrology. Every day is the same: eating, going to school, sleeping, just like any other student. Then one day, Subaru suddenly didn't want to go to school. At first, I would only ask for leave occasionally, then I would not go to school for several days a week, and finally I might only show up at school for 1 or 2 days a month. When Subaru came to his senses, he had become a complete shut-in. But his father and mother never blamed Subaru, instead, they showered him with warmth and care. Suddenly, he was starting to miss his parents. Subaru pursed his lips. What would they be like on Earth? He'd only been in this world for a day, they'd probably think he'd gone off to some remote, deserted place to test his superpowers, right? What if I wait a few more days? What if I don't go back? Will they be angry? Will they worry? Will they look for me? The father might be flying all over the world looking for him, while the mother might be silently weeping at home, hoping her father will bring back good news. I really want to go home. Phew. Two cold beams of light pierced the moonlight, flying towards Subaru's eyes and interrupting his thoughts. Oh no, I was distracted. Subaru dodged to the side, trying his best to avoid a fatal blow, but he was still hit in the face. The blade shattered, leaving a white mark on Subaru's face. How can you be distracted in the midst of battle? The dying Elsa lay in the deep ravine she had plowed out, her blood seeping into the surrounding soil, staining it an eerie dark red. That last strike was a powerful throw of her curved sword, using all her strength, but it only caused Subaru minimal trouble. You're already like this, do you still want to fight? Subaru Natsuki straightened up, his clenched fists so tight they shook the air around him. He flew above Urza, looking down at her. Why did you kill Felt? Subaru. The girl's anxious voice came from behind him, and Subaru turned around to look at her. Sadala jogged towards Subaru, her long silver hair swaying back and forth, more dazzling than the full moon in the sky, her blue-violet eyes filled with unease. Was she worried about him? Subaru, are you all right? It's all right, he's still lively and energetic. Subaru landed on Sadala, quietly hiding his blood-soaked hands behind his back, and pointed his chin at Elsa. This girl is probably the mastermind, hey. Sadala placed her fair fingers on Subaru's wound, and a glow appeared as she activated a healing spell. It hurt, didn't it? But Subaru is a good boy, it's okay, it's okay. I already told you this morning, why are you still treating me like a child? Subaru was a little dissatisfied, but don't misunderstand, Subaru was just unhappy that Sadala treated him like a child. He thoroughly enjoyed Sadala's treatment. Even without treatment, it will heal eventually. Subaru, just as you went in, there was a loud bang, bang sound coming from inside. Sadala withdrew her fingers, clutching the emerald pendant at her chest. I wanted to go in and help you, but you immediately flew out from the other side. That woman was lying in ambush, Subaru said, putting his hands in his pockets to hide them. She killed Felt and another big old man named Rom. Yet, although it was a short time, Sadala noticed that Subaru's hands were covered in blood. Her lips moved slightly, and in a voice almost inaudible to Subaru, she said, I'm sorry, really. Subaru guesses that Sadala probably spoke to Felt and Rom, who were killed, or maybe she spoke to herself. Both are possible, that's the answer. Oh my, you must be the target the employer assigned you. You're so beautiful. The warm atmosphere was shattered as Elsa, completely unable to move, tilted her head and stared intently at Sadala. Chapter 10. Oh dear, are you a half-elf? Elsa seemed oblivious to her injuries and pain. Her eyes crinkled into a smile, and her red lips parted in a grin. Your intestines must be a very beautiful color too. I really want to cut them open and see. Hey, behave yourself, you crazy woman. Subaru bluntly asked Elsa, who is your employer? And why did you kill Felt? I won't disclose my employer's information. Elsa raised her trembling left hand and grasped the corner of her cloak, wiping the blood from her face with great difficulty. Ah, that's amazing. You're incredibly strong, like a monster. My body is a mess, and I've lost a leg. It hurts so much, but it's amazing. This is what it feels like to be alive, it's amazing. That's amazing, that's amazing. Elsa's eyes were glazed over as she looked up at the moon, repeatedly uttering the words "that's amazing." Crazy. Subaru couldn't understand Elsa's thinking at all. This woman's expression, actions, and way of thinking made him feel quite uncomfortable. It felt as disgusting as a black widow spider crawling up the back of your neck. Never mind her for now, let's go inside and find the badge together. We'll call the guards to arrest her later. Subaru turned his head away, not wanting to see Elsa again. Anyway, she's probably broken bones, missing a leg, and still bleeding. She might not even make it to the guards. Let's go, he gestured for Sadala to leave. There are 2 gruesome corpses inside, and some junk sprayed on the walls. Be prepared. Don't worry, Subaru, I'm not that fragile. We'll still need the guards to help them collect the bodies. You're amazing. You even thought of helping them collect their bodies. I almost threw up just now. Subaru greatly admired Sadala's composure. Indeed, the mental fortitude of the natives of this other world was far superior to that of a modern-day good-for-nothing who had lived a life of luxury for over a decade. No, Subaru, you're the one who's truly amazing, Sadala said, her hand resting on the door as if preparing herself mentally, to be able to defeat such a strong enemy. Subaru, you're truly impressive. Oh, right. Sadala hurriedly withdrew her hand, clutching the emerald pendant at her chest. Her blue-violet eyes glanced at Subaru before quickly looking away. Subaru, I want to apologize to you. Hey? What? I'm so sorry. Well, when I introduced myself this morning, I used a pseudonym. My real name isn't Sadala. The girl took a deep breath, patted her chest a few times to calm herself, and looked directly at Subaru with bright eyes. Let's reintroduce ourselves, But before the girl could speak, Subaru pointed to the sky. With his left hand on his hip, right hand pointing straight to the sky, legs slightly wider than shoulder width apart, and hips thrust forward, he shouted at the top of his lungs, "My name is Natsuki Subaru. Foolish, ignorant, and undying wanderer." Subaru's teeth reflected light as he snapped his fingers, gave a thumbs up, and made a cool expression, "Tell me your name." "Really, Subaru?" The silver-haired girl laughed, covering her mouth with her hand, a blush rising on her pale cheeks. "I was just about to say that." The smile on the girl's face was not one of self-abandonment, nor a fleeting, illusory one, nor a sorrowful smile born of awareness. It's a pure, radiant smile born of joy. "My name is Emilia, just Emilia." Emilia extended her hand to Subaru. "Thank you, Subaru, thank you for helping me with this." Looking down at the outstretched, translucent white hand, Subaru cautiously touched it. The fingers are so slender, the palms so small, delicate yet incredibly warm, the hands of a real girl. "Then, please take care of me from now on," Subaru said with a smile, then firmly grasped the girl's hand. Emilia Tan. Nice to meet you, Subaru. But... carbon. What is carbon?" Pfft. 2 oddly shaped scimitars pierced Emilia's back, then slashed downwards to her abdomen, severing the red floral ornament on her left breast. The unspoken words were replaced by blood, which flowed from the corner of his mouth. Emilia suddenly leaned forward, moving closer to Subaru. He couldn't help but reach out to touch her body. The warm, soft touch on his palm made Subaru involuntarily hold back. Thud. Like. Snap, snap, splat. Emilia. Slap 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 slap, slap slap. Without answering Subaru's question, Emilia slowly collapsed into Subaru's arms. Her jewel-like blue-violet eyes gradually lost their luster, becoming nothing more than cheap glass beads on the roadside. Emilia coughed painfully, and fragments of some unknown internal organs mixed with a large amount of blood gushed out of her body. Emilia leaned her head on Subaru's shoulder, coughing up blood repeatedly. Her shredded intestines spilled out from the tear in her abdomen, making her body feel lighter. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, no way. Emilia. If screaming until your throat splits open, could make you forget everything. Now tear it open, rip Subaru's throat apart, and forget everything. In the dimly lit slums, Emilia's face was pale in the sparse moonlight. The body in Subaru's arms gradually became light and cold, as if it had never existed in this world. The bleeding from her body didn't stop, and Subaru's body turned red, becoming increasingly red. Oh 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 ah, oh ah 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 ah. Ah, that beautiful scream, so wonderful. The voice Subaru least wanted to hear came from behind Emilia. The color of the half-elf's intestines is truly so beautiful. And the feeling of cutting open its abdomen is more wonderful than ever before. Ah, that's so great. The sound of high heels hitting the ground was very close. Subaru looked up. A woman dressed in a black robe stood before Subaru, her attire revealing her voluptuous figure without reservation. Her black hair, as rare as Subaru's, was tied in a braid, and she exuded an extraordinary erotic charm. Moreover, she was stunningly beautiful. Elsa. Ah, it's me, the real deal. Elsa greedily licked the remaining bits of intestine from the scimitar. I'm still alive and kicking. My name is Emilia, and that's all I am, Emilia. Thank you, Subaru, thank you for helping me resolve this. Subaru, thank you for coming here with me. I'll try to figure something out myself. No matter what, I can't leave that child alone. Why help that child? It's simple. That way we can continue our search in a more relaxed atmosphere. Emilia pinned the floral ornament to the left breast of her white robe, and a smile even brighter than the ornament bloomed on her face. See, good deeds are rewarded. Emilia proudly placed her hands on her hips and said to Subaru in a cheerful tone, in the end, it's all for your own good. Ah, Emilia is dead. Chapter 11. Ah. Wah. Elsa. No need to shout so loud, I can hear you. Subaru. Elsa brushed a strand of hair behind her ear and tilted her head towards Subaru. Are you angry? That's great. That half-elf's intestines just now. Boom. In an instant, the world lost its sound. The road surface was torn off, and the surrounding buildings collapsed layer by layer. Elsa was like a rubber ball stretched to its limit, her body flew backward at an unimaginable speed. One building, two buildings. Elsa disappeared from Subaru's sight, passing through countless abandoned row houses. Subaru's eyes were bloodshot, his face was contorted, and his breathing was labored, like an animal ancestor who had just climbed ashore for the first time. Something was stuck in his throat, preventing him from speaking. His mind was a complete blank, and his fist, which he had thrown out, remained suspended in mid-air. Thump. Emilia's body, lacking support, fell straight down, leaving bluish-purple bruises where it hit the ground. Subaru swallowed hard, biting his lower lip until it bled. His whole body trembled uncontrollably. With trembling hands, he gently lifted the girl up and held her in his arms. The girl I met in the morning sun perished under the moonlight. The warm body in his arms turned cold, and Subaru tried to grab it, but his hands were empty. It wasn't empty, it was stained with his own blood, Elsa's blood, Emilia's blood. Nausea. Subaru struggled to move his eyelids, forcing himself to look at Emilia's face. Her expression was neither distressed nor serene, but rather filled with confusion. Subaru raised his hand tremblingly, wanting to wipe the blood from the girl's face, but the moment he touched her cold skin, he recoiled as if electrocuted. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. As he gazed down at Emilia's face, tears fell onto his gradually stiffening cheeks. Tears mingled with blood streamed down, soaking the neckline of Emilia's white dress. The emerald pendant on her chest shattered along with the girl's life, its fate unknown. Why didn't he kill Elsa on the spot? Are you afraid? Can fear kill? Are you afraid of ending your own life? But, Subaru convulsed uncontrollably, I'm a murderer. I killed Emilia. How disgusting. If I killed Elsa. If I had been more careful, I wouldn't have had a chance to launch a sneak attack on Elsa. Emilia wasn't killed by Elsa, she was killed by her own arrogance. Having gained power, he wanted to be a superhero like his dad, always believing he could handle things. With great power comes great responsibility. Subaru covered his face tightly with his hands, his fingers scratching until they bled. I don't actually have any power at all. How disgusting. Ugh, ugh. A strong sense of self-loathing turned into acidic fluid that rushed into my nasal cavity and then into my trachea. Sour, foul-smelling bile mixed with undigested apple juice kept spilling from the corners of his mouth. Subaru seemed to hear voices, voices condemning him, voices from everyone he had ever met, all cursing him with cold, angry rage. You don't deserve to be the son of the all-powerful hero, and you certainly don't deserve to be the son of Kenichi Natsuki. Dad punched Subaru hard in the stomach. Just pretend I never gave birth to you. Mom's slap landed heavily on Subaru's cheek. Oh dear, you went too far, sir. I told you, this isn't a fight, it's a bloodbath. Elsa pressed herself against Subaru's back, her long tongue licking his earlobe. I truly wish I had never met you. Emilia looked down at Subaru kneeling on the ground, then decisively turned and left. How disgusting. Subaru, I clearly entrusted RIA to you. Parker's chilling voice rang out. No, this is not a hallucination in Subaru's mind. It's a voice that exists in reality. It's snowing. The heavy snow weighed down on Subaru's shoulders, making it impossible for him to straighten up. It's so cold. It's strange. My dad said that the Witrumians could travel through the universe in their physical bodies, and simple temperature changes couldn't affect them at all. However, Subaru was now feeling the biting cold. The exhaled air is white, and when inhaled, it freezes the lungs like inhaling snow. Something is coming. Subaru struggled to lift his eyes. A colossal beast, hundreds of meters tall, stood on the horizon. It was a sacred beast covered in grey fur, with pupils that shone with golden light. It was on all fours, swaying its body, and its face resembled that of a feline beast. The mouth with the sharp-toothed probe exhaled breaths as if from white snow. The behemoth transformed the world into a pure white snowscape, turning everything alive into a frozen hell. Subaru, I'm really disappointed, Parker's voice came from the behemoth's mouth. You made two mistakes. First, you broke our agreement. I specifically asked you to take care of Lia, but you killed her. What was the behemoth saying? Subaru couldn't hear it at all. It's so cold. It's so cold. So. The bone-chilling cold assaulted Subaru's reason, but his survival instincts propelled him to take flight, to escape this place, to leave this place, and to live. Bang! Subaru, who had only flown a dozen meters, crashed to the ground, his body carving a rut in the snow due to inertia. Frost clung to Subaru's eyelashes, and snow blocked his ears. Secondly, and most seriously, you caused Lia's death. The behemoth writhed, growing larger, its mouth revealing rows of sharp teeth, its voice cold and piercing, as if capable of freezing everything. By keeping the contract, I will now destroy the world. The snow was falling heavier and heavier, gradually covering the entire slum. I will bury everything beneath ice and snow as a farewell to Lia. Why? Because of Lia, Emilia is the only reason I live. Parker answered Subaru's question. The wind grew colder, piercing the skin like needles, and the extreme cold froze the blood. It felt like I was going to die. Subaru could see nothing anymore, he could feel nothing but the cold. Without that child, my existence has no meaning. Losing that child, I cannot allow this world to continue. Everything I have ended when that child died. The icing slowly corroded the flesh, and the heart began to stop working. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, I can't come home. I'm so sorry, Emilia, I failed to protect you. A towering blue beam of light shone from the center of the dynasty, as if something was hurtling towards them. What is that? Just as Subaru was thinking this, his breathing stopped completely. The biting cold disappeared without him even noticing. Not only did the cold vanish, but Subaru also felt quite warm. I want to give everything to that warmth. Sleep, sleep, go to a warm place. Go to sleep, with my daughter. Subaru Natsuki froze and died. Chapter 12. Hey buddy, wanna buy an apple? Ah. When a man who looked even more menacing than a gangster and had a prominent scar on his face called out to him, Natsuki Subaru couldn't help but let out a stunned sound. His reaction made the man's scar contort even more. Young man, what's wrong? You suddenly look so dazed. What? So, are you buying an apple or not? Apple, buddy, do you have the money? What? What the hell? Apple. Are you going to buy it or not? Before Subaru stood a muscular, scarred man with a small, cute red apple in his palm. He glanced at the fruit, then at the middle-aged man's face, and rubbed his eyes. No, after all, I'm a penniless pauper from the immortal demon realm. What, miss, are you buying apples? You didn't bring any money, did you? A girl's clear voice rang out beside her. Sorry. I didn't bring any money either. Honestly. If you're just looking and not buying, then get out of here. The apple stall owner's face darkened instantly. He waved his hand to shoo them away. I have business to do, I don't have time to entertain customers who aren't going to pay. Subaru was driven away from the fruit stand by the owner. Strange, what's going on? He didn't ask anyone, he used all his strength just to voice his doubts and confusion. Subaru looked down at his hands, clean, without any dark red blood. Brother. Sister. An excited, young girl's voice rang out, and Subaru turned around. A girl being led by a middle-aged woman happily waved in their direction. Ah! It's you. The girl beside him crouched down, her silver hair swaying and shimmering brightly in the sunlight. We meet again. Hey? Subaru's pupils shrank to the size of pinholes as he stared blankly at the silver-haired girl. The main road was still bustling with people, except for the occasional lizard carriage passing by. The entire road was crowded with pedestrians. The beloved black and orange tracksuit was not stained with blood, and the despairing snow had vanished without a trace. Thank you so much for your help earlier. The middle-aged woman bowed slightly in their direction, while the girl she was leading was still shaking her arm vigorously. Sister, here you go. The girl left her mother's side, jogged over to the young girl, and held out her hand, her small palm holding a trinket shaped like a red flower. Please accept this, my daughter wants to thank you in her own way. What's going on? Honey, do you know these two penniless guys? The boss turned to ask the middle-aged woman. Darling, please don't call them poor bastards, it's so rude. Haven't these things already happened once already? Faced with the familiar scene of a suffocatingly noisy crowd, Subaru yanked on his hair. Ugh. I completely don't understand. Subaru. My hand was grabbed by another hand. The fingers are so slender, the palms so small, delicate yet incredibly warm, the hands of a real girl. Subaru's gaze was forcibly turned, and the silver-haired girl before him spoke with a mixture of heartache and anger. Didn't you promise you wouldn't hurt yourself anymore? Confused about the situation, Subaru still apologized as usual. Ah. I'm sorry. Natsuki Subaru finally had a chance to look around. I don't know when, but I had already left the apple stand. Subaru stood on the bustling street, a silver-haired girl in front of him holding one of his hands, the other hand on her hip, her delicate brows furrowed. She wore a red floral ornament on her chest. Emilia. Hey. The girl recoiled as if electrocuted, her ear tips slightly red. Subaru, how did you know my name? Didn't you say that yourself? Subaru was stunned. Hey, that's strange. Did I say that? Emilia's cheeks were already flushed, and she nervously clutched the hem of her clothes. So I really did accidentally say it. I'm sorry. I lied to Subaru. Emilia bowed deeply to Subaru, her impeccable manner startling him. At first, I didn't think Subaru was a good person, so, when I introduced myself on the rooftop, I gave a fake name. That's strange, really strange. It was just night, but now the sun is high in the sky. Heading to the slums, asking for directions, they arrived at the abandoned mansion where Grandpa Ram had hidden his stolen goods. He encounters Elsa, defeats her, and Emilia reveals her true name. And then... Hey? Subaru, why are you crying? Emilia gently wiped away her tears with her slender, pale fingers. Her jewel-like blue-purple eyes were filled with panic. Are you all right, Subaru? You've been acting strange ever since. No, it's nothing. Really? Emilia, her face still flushed from the exposure of her lie, clutched the emerald pendant at her chest. If anything happens, Subaru, you have to tell me. It's really okay. So why is this the case? Emilia, who was supposed to be dead, was standing vividly in front of him, while he himself had been frozen to death by Puck. Subaru's thoughts were lost in the maze, constantly hitting roadblocks. However, in his blocked thinking, Subaru found a conclusion that could explain this phenomenon. Although he found the possibility of it too absurd to even contemplate, reason quickly dismissed it as impossible. But it really happened. After he died, he returned to the time when he was still at the apple stand, with his memories intact. Return of death. Didn't Subaru say, with great power comes great responsibility? As Subaru and my comrade, I have the ability and the responsibility to help Subaru. Emilia said seriously. Subaru casually hummed in agreement, brushing Emilia off. As they headed towards the slums, Subaru followed closely behind Emilia. Gazing at the girl's flowing silver hair from behind, Subaru bit his lower lip until blood seeped out. Are you kidding me? If you can't even protect yourself, do you really deserve to talk about ability? But now, Emilia is standing in front of her. He was lively and energetic, and his body was still warm. She would occasionally look back to check if she had lost her way, and she would talk to herself about interesting things that happened along the way. Very good. There's still a chance. Going back to the past is an eternal theme of human fantasy. If only I had done that, if only I hadn't done that, regret and remorse intertwined in my heart, until only one thought emerged. If I could go back in time, I would definitely. Subaru doesn't know what others will say, but he only has one answer. This time, I will definitely protect you. Oh please don't let me die. Please don't let me die here. Ready for your touch. Looking forward to meeting you again. No, don't give up on life. No, I refuse to give up hope of survival. This endless battle. And there is still endless struggle. Standing under the midday sun, Subaru Natsuki starts from scratch. Chapter 13. Subaru pressed his clenched fist against his lips, mimicking Auguste Rodin's sculpture The Thinker, as if this would give him a 50% increase in thinking speed. Last week, when Emilia and I arrived at Ram's hideout, it was already completely dark. Elsa killed both people in the house. The body of the big old man was probably Ram's, and the body of the short blonde girl was Felt's. Emilia's sought-after badge has disappeared. It might have been taken by Elsa, it might be on a corpse on the ground, or it might be hidden in some corner of an abandoned mansion. In short, it's very difficult to find. If I went there now, Elsa might not have had a chance to kill anyone. Ram and Felt are both still alive, and the badge is still in their possession. Plans in place. Hey, Emilia! Subaru called out to Emilia, who was walking ahead of him. What's wrong, Subaru? Emilia was still a little uncomfortable with Subaru calling her by her name directly. Listen to me, Emilia-tan, Subaru pointed to the sky, I know where your crest is. Hey? What does carbon mean? Please ignore the way you're addressed. Anyway, Subaru gestured for Emilia to climb onto his back, I'll carry you and fly straight there. Let's hurry. Subaru wasn't in the mood to fly slowly like he did last time. He looked up at the sky, it was just past noon, and the sun was slightly slanting. There's still time, but no matter how much time you have, you can't waste it. Phew. Subaru left a long trail behind him, air rippled around him, and his speed increased again, diving towards the slums like a humanoid jet airliner. It's Emilia, who's behind Subaru, who's suffering the most. The wind is so strong. Emilia's silver hair was whipping around wildly, her eyes were almost closed, and just as she was about to speak, the wind filled her mouth. Subaru. I rub. I couldn't speak at all. What a terrible riding experience. Subaru might be a good race car driver, but he's definitely not a good taxi driver. Okay, Emilia-tan, Subaru landed on an open area not far from the abandoned mansion in the slums, the gust of wind from his landing snapping the surrounding flowers and plants. We've arrived. Emilia. Emilia looked pale and, after getting off Subaru's back, her legs gave way and she sat down on the ground. You're flying too fast, Subaru. Emilia raised her hand to her forehead, as if everything she saw was double. Parker tumbled out of Emilia's long hair, collapsing backward in a daze. There are 3 suns in the sky. Parker. A feeling of despair, as if his organs were frozen, surged up rapidly. Subaru exhaled and inhaled rapidly, his hands and feet convulsing uncontrollably. I'm sorry. Fortunately, the person and the cat were still in a state of shock and didn't notice the fear in Subaru's voice. I'll go knock on the door. You two wait here for me. Thump, thump, thump. Is anyone home? Subaru was BG on the door. Under the orange sunlight, the heavy doors of the abandoned mansion seemed to silently reject Subaru. The door creaked heavily, but no one responded, only an unbearable silence followed. No way? Has Elsa already arrived? Have the people inside been killed? Am I still too late? Is anyone there? Is anyone there? Unable to withstand Subaru's passion, the door groaned, the hinges began to warp, and then... It's so noisy. Don't you know the code and password? Do you want to tear the door down? The door in front of him flung open, its heavy doors slamming into Subaru like the Titanic hitting an iceberg. The iceberg remained motionless, while the Titanic shattered into pieces. Behind the door, a bald old man with a ruddy complexion stared at Subaru in astonishment. Dirty, tattered clothes covered a massive, muscular body, while its smooth, hairless head reflected the sun's bright red light. In short, there stood a huge, bald, yet incredibly energetic old man. What the hell are you doing? You've ruined my door. The old man keenly sensed that Subaru's power seemed no less than his own, and might even be stronger. What does a stranger want? Who are you? How did you find out about this place? Who told you? My name is Natsuki Subaru, a wandering prodigal son who returned from hell. Subaru strained his eyes to look up at the old man. The man was really tall, at least 3 heads taller than him. Subaru is about 1.72 meters tall, while the old man in front of him is at least 2.2 meters tall. This must be Grandpa Ram himself. We want to buy stolen goods from you. Who told you that? Subaru recalled the appearance of the man he had spoken to last time and told Ram about it. Grandpa Ram stared at Subaru for a long while before saying, "Come in." Pulling open the broken door, Subaru and Emilia entered the abandoned mansion. However, this abandonment is only reflected on the outside. Now that the light is plentiful, Subaru is able to look around the interior of the mansion. The house is quite well preserved, and it should be quite comfortable to live in. I was just thinking of having a few drinks, but you interrupted me with your loud shouting. Mr. Ram scratched his bald head and went back behind the counter. The word huge is more fitting for this old man than tall. Standing behind the counter, he was squeezed so much that he had to bend over. He took a bottle of wine from the shelf below the counter, poured the wine into a glass, and brought it to his lips. The sun has barely set and you're already drinking? You'll die young. Subaru said something quite impolite, and as a result, Emilia lightly punched him. Hello, sir, Emilia said, sitting upright in a chair at the bar. I have something very important that felt stole, and I hope to retrieve it from you. Haha. Didn't this kid over there teach you any rules? The bottle was tilted over the empty glass, the amber liquid nearly overflowing. Ram downed the drink in one gulp. In my stash, even if your own things are stolen, you'll have to pay up to get them back. Emilia was somewhat displeased and was about to say something more when Subaru stopped her. Subaru winked at Emilia, signaling that he should handle the negotiations. Subaru said directly to Lord Ram, "We're looking for a badge with a gem in the center, and we'd like you to sell it to us." Although Subaru could just take it by force, Ram wouldn't be able to beat him and Emilia anyway. However, thanks to his parents' upbringing, Subaru has a complete moral compass. If he could, Subaru wouldn't want to do bad things. He always harbored the fantasy of becoming a superhero. Strength is meant to help others, not to harm them. Faced with Subaru's hopeful request, Ram looked troubled. A jeweled badge, it's a pity, nobody ever brought one like that. Really? Think again, are you getting so old that your memory is failing? If you can't even recall being in that excellent state after drinking, then I can only say I don't know. That's all. Can one still be considered to be in top form after drinking alcohol? This is the first time Subaru has heard this claim. Grandpa Ram poured another full glass of wine and pushed it towards Subaru. Later, someone arranged to bring something over, and they said beforehand it was top quality goods, very likely what you're looking for. Was it a blonde girl named Felt who brought the gift? Subaru declined the alcohol that Ram offered. After all, he was only 17 and had 3 more years before he could drink. Exactly. What, you even know the thief's name? Emilia couldn't hold back any longer, because she stole it right in front of me. So I want it back. Emilia's values are frighteningly upright, but also too direct, lacking any flexibility or ability to adapt to social norms. Seeing that the negotiations were about to fall apart, Subaru took out his old flip phone from his pocket and placed it on the table. Chapter 14. Well, don't get excited yet. Subaru urged Ram and Emilia to calm down. We'll buy that superior item you mentioned, through barter. What's this? It's the first time I've seen this. Ram didn't argue. He asked Subaru about the flip phone on the table. The thing you're trying to buy probably isn't cheap. Your offer might not be enough to get it. Don't underestimate my trump card, Subaru showed Ram. This is a magical item cell phone that can freeze time. Subaru picked up his phone and started fiddling with it, while Emilia, who was beside him, curiously leaned over to take a look. Subaru pointed his phone camera at Ram, who was astonished at seeing the mysterious object for the first time, and then a white light pierced the dimness of the store. Take this. 9 shots in 1 second. Crack. The sound of a camera shutter clicked. Stunned by the continuous bursts of light and sound, Mr. Ram fell behind the counter. You brat! Are you planning to kill me? Daring to do such a strange thing, are you underestimating this old man? Wait, wait! Subaru handed the phone screen to Ram, whose face was flushed due to factors other than alcohol. When the old man saw his own face appear on the screen, his eyes widened in surprise. Isn't this my face? What kind of trick is this? Didn't I tell you? This is a magical item that can cut and freeze time. I just used this item to cut through Rom's time and then trapped that moment inside. Subaru spoke while changing the direction of the camera lens. Come on, Emilia, do this. Subaru gestured for Emilia to make a V sign. Seeing Emilia comply, Subaru nodded in satisfaction. You're so cute. Say cheese. Eggplant, eggplant. Emilia tilted her head and placed her hand, making a V sign, beside her face. As expected of Emilia Tan. She's mastered super cute photo poses without any instruction. Subaru excitedly pressed the shutter button. Crack. Emilia's face was on the phone screen. This is what it feels like to cut through time. Pretty strange, right? Subaru showed Emilia and Rom the photos on his phone. Although this pretentious face and pose are useless, it is indeed, Despite his criticism of Subaru's actions, Rom's gaze and interest remained firmly fixed on his phone. It was even more successful than expected. Subaru clenched his fist excitedly. Subaru, this meteor that can cut through time? Subaru, you're trading this for a badge, isn't that a bad deal? Emilia's face was full of concern. She quietly tugged at Subaru's sleeve and whispered in his ear, this thing is very valuable, isn't it? And it should be very important to Subaru, so. Alright, that's enough for now, Subaru gestured for Emilia to stop. It's alright. Our priority now is getting your badge back. We'll talk about the rest later. By the way, what is meteor? Even if one cannot open a magic gate like a magician, magical items are collectively called shooting stars, Lord Rom replied. The original meaning seems to be a gift falling from the sky. The value of this thing is immeasurable. The eagerness to make a fortune from rare and unusual items seems to be a common trait in the stolen goods industry. Rom, excited enough to discuss its value, stroked his chin and looked down at Subaru. I've worked in the stolen goods warehouse for a long time, but this is the first time I've bought and sold a meteor. You can imagine its extremely high value. Upon hearing the words immeasurable value, Emilia bit her lip and gripped the emerald pendant on her chest tightly with both hands, as if she had made up her mind. You big idiot! Thump, thump, thump. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Subaru and Emilia looked up. Rom's massive body reacted to the knocking and he moved nimbly toward the door. The old man, with a mysterious look on his face, pressed his ear against the door and said. Dealing with the big rat. Use poison. Dealing with the beluga whale. Use a fishhook. To deal with us noble dragons. Go eat shit. To Rom's brief question, those outside immediately gave tasteless answers, and Rom unlocked the door with satisfaction. That's a really unique code, it must be a secret code and a password. Sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Rom. I easily shook them off, which is why I was able to return so early. A young girl, affectionately boasting of her spoils, walked past Lord Rom into the loot storage room. Hey! How did you manage to get here? She was a girl with messy, medium-length blonde hair, her pupils were red like a rabbit's, and her fangs peeked out from the corners of her mouth. Her petite frame was dressed in tattered clothes. Well, let's be more discreet and wear clothes that allow for easy movement. When the girl saw Emilia sitting at the bar, she immediately became alarmed, hissing like a cat with its fur standing on end. Uncle Rom, run! The owner has come to your house. All right, you must be felt, right? Subaru tried to interject, we are. Please return my badge, it's very important. A cracking sound echoed in the air, and the room temperature suddenly dropped. Emilia raised her palm towards Felt, and ice pillars appeared out of thin air, hovering around her. What? Dude, so you guys wanted to take the stuff back? Old man Rom had somehow acquired a stick in his hand, but his strong wrist holding it seemed unreliable, as if he were bewildered or confused, repeatedly opening and closing his hand. Wait! What's going on with you guys? Subaru quickly scanned Emilia, Rom, and Felt, their eyes were filled with distrust and wariness towards each other. "You're such a clingy woman, you should give up now." "I'm very sorry, but I can't give up. Be honest, and I won't do anything to you." Facing the clenched teeth of Felt, Emilia's voice was extremely cold, a tone Subaru had never heard before. The atmosphere in the mansion grew increasingly dangerous and tense, giving Subaru a headache. They were talking so well before, so why did Emilia turn on them the moment Felt arrived? "I have only one request, return the badge." 6 icicles formed in the air, their tips rounded and blunt, emphasizing the power of their weight rather than sharpness. Air currents surged, and Emilia's silver hair fluttered. "Everyone, calm down." Subaru's attempts to dissuade him were to no avail. "Miss, you're a fairy, aren't you?" Lord Rom noticed Emilia's pointed ears behind her silver hair, and his lips trembled as he asked a question. Faced with Rom's question, Emilia closed her eyes for a moment, then exhaled softly, "Half right, my fairy blood is only half." Farah reacted unusually, twisting her body as she backed away. "A half-elf, and with silver hair? Could it be? Oh no! We've stepped on Emilia's landmine again." When Emilia told Subaru that she was a half-elf, her eyes were filled with loneliness and sadness, clearly indicating that she had suffered some unequal treatment or discrimination because of this identity. Now the discrimination is blatantly obvious to Emilia. If Subaru were to face this kind of discrimination, he certainly wouldn't be able to calmly and rationally discuss the matter. Subaru's companions are now being discriminated against. Does Subaru have any other choice but to stand up for them? Moreover, things have come to this point, and words can no longer solve the problem. My superhuman intelligence tells me it's time to use my superpowers. Boom! Subaru clenched his fists tightly, and the terrifying wind pressure shattered the glass windows of the loot storage room. Stone chips fell from the ceiling, and cracks appeared in the walls. The tense atmosphere paused. "Hey! Calm down, all of you!" Subaru's expression turned serious for once, his cold gaze sweeping over Rom and Felt. Chapter 15. When I'm in a high mood, it seems like I can unleash even greater power. Subaru had vaguely sensed this not long ago. And right now, he's at the peak of his emotional state. Not long ago, Emilia died, and he himself was mysteriously frozen to death by Puck. She then woke up again in front of the apple stand. Emilia was still alive, and time had returned to the morning. All of this happened too quickly for Subaru. My first battle with an enemy, my first crush on a girl, my first anger and sadness over someone else's death, and my first death. Hatred for Elsa, anger and confusion towards Puck, disappointment in himself, and guilt towards Emilia. There are too many things for Subaru to think about and feel. Subaru's emotions, which had been building up inside him, finally manifested as the power in his clenched fist. "Have you all calmed down?" Subaru took a deep breath and addressed everyone, including himself. What amazing power! Grandpa Rom loosened his grip on the stick he was about to put down, and said to Felt with a sigh of relief, "Felt, return the item to this young lady. The owner of this lost item might be someone special." Felt was still fuming. "What's going on? Although this dark-haired guy seems strong, I'll hold him off." "Rom, you just need to take the badge and run." Felt. Lord Rom's expression was serious. "To be able to hire an ally of this strength, we can't afford to mess with them." Upon hearing the word "we," Farah's arrogance vanished instantly. She reached into her pocket and gripped the contents tightly. "That's 20 holy gold coins. Fine, here you go." Felt flicked her slender arm, sending a blurry image flying toward Emilia, looking utterly unwilling. Emilia caught it, and the red gem in the center of the badge shone with dazzling light. "Call." Emilia seemed relieved. For some unknown reason, Lord Rom's attitude suddenly changed, and they inexplicably got their badges back. It's a relief that no more intense conflict erupted. As if gliding, the black shadow silently moved behind the silver-haired girl. Subaru's pupils constrict, sprint. When Subaru's strong, iron-like hand gripped the incoming scimitar tightly. With another burst of strength, the scimitar was crushed to pieces by Subaru, while Subaru's hand remained unharmed. Hey! Emilia reacted just as quickly, and upon realizing she was being attacked, she instantly raised her hand and fired an ice pillar. The newcomer jumped back to avoid the icicle while creating distance, landing steadily on the ground near the door. It was Elsa Gransild. Thanks to you just now, Subaru. Puck appeared beside Emilia and waved to Subaru in thanks. When facing Parker, Subaru responded softly, his voice carrying a sense of detachment he himself was unaware of. Although return by death can return to a point before anything happened, allowing you to start everything from scratch. But some things will never be forgotten. No matter how much you pretend not to care, no matter how hard you try to forget, your body will still remember. Wow, you're really quick-witted, buddy. Elsa pulled a brand new scimitar from behind her cloak. Wow, that aura is amazing. Hey! What do you want? Before Subaru could even retort with his trash talk, Felt was the first to unleash a torrent of abuse. She stepped forward. Weren't you here to buy badges from me? Why did you suddenly attack? I've changed my plans, Elsa said, brandishing her scimitar. Since the owner is here, I'll just kill everyone involved. You. Ferret gritted her teeth. You failed to complete your work. All talk and no action, Elsa said languidly, her expression both languid and menacing. After all, you're just a slum dweller. Elsa's skill in trash talking surpassed everyone.
वीडियोस बनाने हैं, फिल्मोरा है ना?